Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. So my name is Victor, and I'm going to be your anchor for the Cisco Cybersecurity Operations Associate Training. So it's in 28 modules. We are right now in module 8, which is the Address Resolution Protocol. This is still part of the networking fundamentals. Now, if I have a router, if I have a switch, most times a router, how do I resolve uh, IP addresses, right? So don't forget, in the previous module, I told you that you have MAC address as an addressing system, IP address as an addressing system. Of course, in IP version 4, or rather in IP addresses, you have version 4 and you also have version 6. So here you want to understand how your router or your DHCP server is going to resolve addresses. So it needs to resolve that addresses in order to mitigate conflicts, error checking, and several other advantages that will help for efficiency of communication. So MAC address and IP. So destination on same network. Two primary addresses assigned to a device on an Ethernet LAN. So I have my MAC address and I'm going to have my IP address. So how does this help me? So this is on layer 2 and this is on layer 3, right? Don't forget that. MAC address is on layer 2, this is on layer 3. Then destination on a remote network, most of the times you're going to be using your IP address, but you also need a source MAC address where that information is coming in from. If I have this place, so it carries the MAC address of the guy, and it's rather it carries the destination MAC address, that's where it's going to, then the source MAC address where it is coming from, then the source IP address that is here, and of course the destination IP address. So it needs those two information to be able to send that information from the right person and of course to the right person. ARP. So what is ARP? Address Resolution Protocol. So that's just what we use to determine which MAC address and which IP address are we going to send information to, right? So those two addresses are needed for proper communication. Simply put, your first name and your surname. So you need your first name and your surname to be able to identify you. So I can say the MAC address is like your surname, whereas your IP address is like your personal name. Okay, what are the functions? You have a short video on the elements that describes this, right? So the address resolution protocol have a table that it stores MAC address and IP addresses. So there's a short video here you could watch and see what I've just explained earlier on. So yes, it's a short one, how it operates. Like I said, you and don't forget that the ARP works together with DHCP for resolution of IP addresses. This is a conditional video. This is another short video you have on the LMS. Please log into your Cisco platform and watch that video. If you have questions, please make sure you ask. Now, for a Cisco router, if you say show IP ARP, you get that. So you get the IP address the protocol is running on, you get the hardware, that's the MAC address, and you get the interface. If you're running on Windows, you say ARP-A-all. So it gives you all the IP address, the MAC address, and tell you whether it is static or whether it's dynamic. This is what your address table looks like. So it knows this guy, this is the IP address, this is the MAC address. So anytime this guy is communicating on the network, it knows what it is going to use to identify it. So this ARP works together with DHCP. I think we're going to look at DHCP on a different module. So it's as good as that. So we're going to be doing a lab here that has to do with Wireshark, capturing Ethernet frames so that we can investigate ARP, the ARP protocol that takes log of the IP and MAC address. So because that this information is passed across pieces on the network. So the only way you can capture this information is Wireshark, is a packet sniffer or a packet capture tool. Issues, right? So you can have poisoning, and that's what attackers do. Why are we learning ARP? We're learning ARP because it might have vulnerabilities, right? On a typical business network, these brokers should have minimal impact on network performance. But if you're always sending ARP broadcast, because you need to send these advertisement messages so that each of those devices can tell you what their IP address and MAC address is, so that it can enable you to pick up information from other persons and other pieces on the network to be able to send to them. So if I don't know you, there's no way I'm going to help you connect to other persons or help other persons connect to you. So broadcasts, right? So that learning is what most switch will do. So like we say, a switch is a device that does packet forwarding. So this is the process that the ARP use in doing the broadcast. But you have broadcast issues and you have spoofing issues. In spoofing, people can check what we have there and act like they are, whereas they are not, right? So those are some of the issues. You spoof an IP address, you spoof a MAC address, and someone is sending information to you whereas the person is not supposed to send information to you. So those are some of the issues. So please watch the 5 minute video that demonstrates how the spoofing concept with respect to ARP. Okay, that's all. It's a very short module. You just need to understand that if you have MAC address, if you have IP addresses that are like signatures to nodes on your network, you can have vulnerabilities. So very intelligent routers and switches are not going to allow spoofing. So one of your countermeasures is that you use static IP addresses. Of course, you bind IP addresses to MAC addresses. So that even when somebody comes on a network and changes his MAC address through his software or his IP address, you can be able to identify the real PC on the network and of course the fake PC or the clone or the spoofing PC on the network. That's all for module 8. It's a very short module. Thank you very much. See you in the next module.